right, thank you for staying with the Monday Report. The discussion and the town hall begins right now. We're talking about climate change, its effects, and the mitigation measures. We know that the loss and damage fund declared during the COP28 is amounting to about $792 million US. That's about 126 billion Kenya shillings. But what does that mean for the local Mwananchi? This is the conversation we're having right here in Nyeri at a time when scientists are predicting 2024 to be likely the hottest year in history. But are we ready for the effects of climate change? That is the conversation we're having here at the Dedan Kimathi University of Technology in Nyeri. Let me start by introducing my guests from my farthest right. Frederick Kinyua is the CEC Water and Irrigation in Nyeri County. Thank you very much for making time. Kamuyu Ngarwa is here, is a clan elder and a leader in Nyeri County. Thank you very much for making time. Pleasure. His Excellency Mutahi Kahiga, Governor for Nyeri, is with us. Thank you very much for making time. And Grace Kimaru, climate change advocate and founder, Foster Green CBO. Thank you very much for making time. And Kamuyu, I'll start with you on this. What have you seen over the years in terms of climate change? Because I know you've been around for quite some time.
Thank you, Trevor. I'm humbled to be here. And greetings to all your viewers. And greetings to the members of Kiama Nyeri and nationally. Trevor, from 2018, we had a drought. That drought was so devastating that I had to sell my cows, only to remain with 3 to support the biogas production. And then something very tragic happened. Monkeys, the vervet monkeys, left the forest and came to our habitation, and now they are eating macadamias and eating coffee and destroying the basic structure of farming in my area around Gatito. So it has been very devastating, Trevor, because this thing is real. And what surprises me most is that some of these countries that are in the north, the rich countries, are refusing to give people like Governor Mutahi what we need. Therefore, it's a double tragedy. Some of us who have retired were hoping to subsidize our little income with farming. There we have it. There's drought, and then the monkeys have come. And unfortunately, when the monkeys came, they discovered that it is better to live with us than in the forest. So everything we try to plant is destroyed. So those are some of the highlights, Trevor.
Okay. Let me bring in His Excellency Governor here. Governor, Nyeri was among the first counties to sign the Climate Change Act. Why was that a priority for you as a leader?
Thank you very much, Trevor, and I take this opportunity to welcome you to Nyeri and to say hamjambo. Nyeri as a county is currently leading in tree cover and also in forest cover. I think we are at 45.5 tree cover, and forest cover is about 40.8. And this is not really by accident. We as a people have always been environmental conscious. Going by what you see here with Kamuyu as a clan elder, and you have heard him, you have heard what he speaks about. So really, we as a people who are agricultural, this is a county that really depends. And in fact, about 75% of the population has its roots, has its economy, has its, its daily life in farming. This is really close to our hearts. Fine, as a county, we pride ourselves in being hugged by 2 mountains, the 2 water towers, the Mount Kenya on one side and the Aberdares on the other. And then we are right there in the, the name Nyeri means streams of water. That is exactly where we should have been. But unfortunately, those of us who have lived beyond the years of 50 now know that what we have is not what we had. And it is really devastating for us. We pity the young men and women in Nyeri who cannot now swim in our rivers. Yet we did swim in the rivers. We have seen dry beds. We have seen really the ravaging climate change. Unfortunately, also for Nyeri, we have two kinds of biodiversity. We have 52% of Nyeri, which is arid and semi-arid, and then we have the other area, which is the mountains, and so really, the 48% is like what supports the 52.
Yeah.
So climate change mitigation is key to us, and even as a county and as a government, I'm sure Waziri will be telling us.
Yeah.
I think we have been in the forefront in passing legislation. Mm-hmm. I think we have almost 6 or 7 bills that we have passed in the very near past, just to try and ensure that we can put a check on what is happening.
Yeah.
So, rightfully to say, it's dear to us.
Yeah. Waziri, what would you say are the milestones achieved? Because Kamuyu said something very interesting, that the people in the global north are not giving the likes of Governor Kahiga what they require to fight this. And yet these conversations are being had at a global scale. In fact, COP28 just the other day spoke about the loss and damage fund at about $792 million US, 126 billion Kenya shillings. But has that trickled down to the people of Nyeri?
Thank you, Trevor. I want to pass my regards to everyone watching. One of the things, and what His Excellency has alluded to, the availability of financing for climate actions has been the biggest challenge. Yeah. As he mentioned, so the Nyeri people are they are focused on matters of conservation. They are focused on matters of mitigating and also adapting to the vagaries of climate change. The challenge has been, and I like what COP28 came up with because it's a follow-up to what was discussed in the African Climate Summit, where we talked about accelerating financing for climate actions, and the damage and loss fund will come to assist on that. The challenge comes on how fast are the financing going to trickle down to the grassroots. Yeah. Remember what we have, the 792 pledge is actually a pledge. So far, what has been contributed is about 100. How fast will the 100, how fast will the 700 pledged trickle down to the countries that need it most? Yeah. It is projected that the vulnerable countries require more than 400 million USD annually. The pledge right now is 792, but it is not yet released to these countries that need it. Mm-hmm. So the issue is we need to commit ourselves, both globally and even at the local level. Yeah. We need to accelerate financing for climate actions. Yeah. We need to ensure that the people who are vulnerable are assisted to cope and to adapt to the climate change. Okay. Remember, we are victims, not the perpetrators of emissions that accelerate this climate change. Okay. Kenya, as a whole, our contribution is very little. It's less than 0.1% of the global emission. And see the efforts that are being put in Kenya, where we have pledged now to reduce that small contribution by more than 32%. Yeah. So the commitment is there with the local people and the countries that are vulnerable. But then the perpetrators of emissions need to actually honor their pledges. Yeah. Yes.
It's interesting that you raised that. And let me bring in Grace on this. Grace, you were both at the Africa Climate Summit and the COP28. What do you see as the disconnect when it comes to financing for climate action?
Okay, thank you, Trevor, for having me. I was at African Climate Summit, and I'm glad that the youths came out in large numbers because we had the African Youth Climate Assembly as a precursor of the Africa Climate Summit, where we brought thousands of youths from across Africa. And one thing for sure that was in the in the Nairobi Declaration, that we also included the Youth Declaration, is the establishment of a global green bank. This global green bank is meant to help the youths access funds in an easier manner. So, and I would like to commend the national government for its efforts in bringing about the Africa Climate Summit, because it is through that the youths were able to come up with these ideas of establishing this bank that would bring easy financial access to the youths. Yeah. And this is also where political goodwill comes in, because if we are seeing the good political goodwill at the national level when it comes to financing our youths, it should also reflect at the county level. What if that fund now becomes operational, with the youths at the local level get the fund, because we have a lot of initiatives at the local level. Yeah. So I think coming up with a structure and a system at the county government, because it is at the local level, and we want to reach the local communities and the youths at the local level who are leading these initiatives. It will really come in handy when we are dealing with matters finance.
Yeah. Yes. Governor, what do you see as the greatest gap here? What are the biggest challenges for you to rescue your people from this? Because you seem to have done your part in terms of policies, but still the effects of climate change.
I think one of the challenges we must admit is that there is, like Waziri says, we don't have goodwill from the perpetrators. The second thing is that we are swimming in ignorance. Carbon credit, for example, is something that we should be benefiting from. If Kenya, I mean, our county, for example, now has about 40.8 forest cover. And if you really think about that, if we only got what we really deserved through carbon credit, it would be a lot of money going back to the farmer, because it is the farmers themselves who continue planting the trees, growing the coffee. But unfortunately, this is a new field that I think just the other day I sat with someone, I think Mr. Gareidi the other day, just to try and engage, just to see what can we do to tap into that carbon credit. We haven't done that. Well, of course, looking at now this new agitation through the COPs, the African climate, whatever, it is now for us to be aggressive. And I really must appreciate Nyeri as a county and its people. Trevor, you may not know this, but the last check we had is that after the president himself announced what he did, Nyeri had planted, the last check was about 5 million trees. This is something people are doing. The county government of Nyeri has spent in excess of about 100 million Kenya shillings so far in provision of avocado seedlings free of charge to the farmers to plant, so that even as we think about the tree, we are also thinking about food security. We have the macadamia that the elder is speaking about. We as a people are trying our level best. It is only unfortunate, and here we must say, and I think you must allow us to say this. When we look at the kind of financing that is coming through FLOCA, for example, every county got 11 million Kenya shillings. I'm sad to tell you that that money, since it's donor money, instead of us buying seedlings and planting, 11 million went into capacity building. So you need to tell me why we need 11 million to capacity build the people of Nyeri, who are already leading in this country in terms of forest cover. Wangari Maathai is a product of Nyeri, who spoke honestly about conservation. And here we are being told that we must spend 11 million Kenya shillings. Yeah. The same way Garissa will, the same way Mombasa will. Then you ask yourself, despite the fact that he who pays the piper gets the tune or calls the tune, I think we need our own African solutions to this matter, as opposed to what now is donor funding that is coming with ridiculous conditions and conditionalities. Because I was asking my waziri, now you have 11 million. Why don't you just buy seedlings? You have 11 million. Why don't you go and work on one of the dams in Nyeri or somewhere just to try and mitigate? But then, considering we are receiving the funding, I would still urge whoever is in charge to change the models. To change the models, have homegrown solutions, because what is good in London will not work here in Kenya. Like, we have our own ways, and we should be able to, and then let us also stop coming up with one uniform program for Kenya, because rightfully Nyeri is at 40.8. You should go to Vihiga and see where Vihiga is. Go to, we need to really look at it in that kind of way. And I want to say, I've just listened to what Kemaru has said here. Yes, it is important that we carry the youth along. And I want to appreciate all the youth that are involved, especially in Nyeri. We have quite a number of them who are really passionate about this, because it is them that will grow. And here, the likes of me and Kamuyu must apologize to the future generations, because we might have been involved in charcoal burning. We might have been involved in cutting of trees. We might have been involved in, looking at this hall. I wish you ask yourself how many of these brown trees you can see. What you see is trees. We must make that apology ourselves, because we could have used something different. Thank you.
All right, let me bring in, speaking of younger generations, Baraka Mururi is here, is a little Mr. Environment, just 11 years old. Baraka, just start by introducing yourself and just tell us, why is this conversation so important to you?
I want each and every person to know and hear of our children's cry. Government people, it's sad to say that the other day my mom wanted I to speak at the COP28, but due to we came late, we weren't able to go for COP28. And this is unfortunately sad, because I wanted to share my news even beyond Kenya. And I would like to say, I will share my news across each and every country to make sure children are heard, to avoid us, the future generation, from coming to starvation due to this tree cutting. Thank you.
What would you want us to hear from children? What is your message?
I want you to hear us children, because we're the future generation, and children are not usually heard of. Mostly. Then, for example, when I come and ask you for a position in the government, and an elder person comes and asks you for a position in the government, who will you give? The elder person. And I would like you to hear us as children, because we also have bright minds. Thank you.
All right. Just give the microphone to your mother then. Let's hear what
And my projects are educating the locality on the issues affecting the society, organizing events, workshops, and places set aside to teach about global warming. And I have done that in Kitengela due to the help of my school. I would like to give huge thanks to my school for providing land for the Go Green with Baraka initiative, the day of planting trees. And I would like to tell the president each and every time to create a holiday specifically for planting trees. No usage of cars, because they burn emissions into our society. Thank you.
Thank you so much. You can pass the microphone to your mother then, just here. And Lorraine, you can start by introducing yourself and just tell me, why is this so important to your young son? And what are you doing to enable him speak so clearly that he is actually articulating the issues here? And what are the gaps you're seeing?
Thank you so much, Trevor, for the opportunity. Initially, I was not a climate change activist, but I am a climate change by blood. Why? Because of him. Thanks to the government, which has really improved in this. And when he came out with this idea, Baraka loves finding things.
Yeah.
So this one time, he went through Wangari Maathai, and he really had questions to ask. And when he went through, he told me, Mom, I want to be a climate change activist. And I did not know where to start from, but I thank God because we started last year, and so far Baraka has planted 5,417 trees.
Okay.
400 from him, 5,017 from family and friends.
Okay.
So his initiative is educating the locality on the importance of climate, how it is affecting Kenyans and the whole world.
Okay.
So his cry is for leaders, for the president, for everyone to include, as you include youths, he's also our future generation.
All right.
So his cry is he wants to be heard so that he might live the best, his generation will live better than the way we lived.
Okay.
Yeah, thank you so much, Trevor.
Brilliant. And Baraka says we listen to the children, and that is valid. But let me now bring in an elder, Kamuyu. When you listen to young people like Baraka, yes, there is indigenous knowledge that the likes of you as a community elder have to deal with this climate change. What are you doing now to ensure the likes of Baraka have a future that is guaranteed in a green environment? Governor says we need to apologize to them because we have not done our part to ensure that their future is clear.
Thank you for that question because it goes very deep. And thank you, Baraka, for your participation, and we'll certainly take you into account. Now, this climate change is spiritual. Let us make no mistake about it. It is a spiritual thing that requires not only a physical solution in mitigation, but also a spiritual intervention. Why do I say that? When the Industrial Revolution started, all these big powers who call themselves the first world today choked their people, they choked them, and they gave them asthma and tuberculosis because of the huge amount of smoke that was coming out. Meanwhile, my grandfather and the grandfather of a governor were just busy enjoying life organically. So this transfer of malice from the first world to the second world and the absence of reparations is what I think this gentleman is talking about. He is the one who will be challenged to find that Kamuyu River does not flow anymore, to find that Gadanjagwa River does not flow anymore, and therefore there are no sugar canes and there's no cocoyams and there's none of those interesting things. So the first things we are going to do, and we have planned that on the 9th of February, 2024, a group of elders who will be fasting for at least 10 or to 12 days, we are going up Mount Kenya, the holiest shrine in the world, if you don't know. It is the holiest shrine in the world, Mount Kenya. We shall be going there to ask God to touch those heavy hearts of Europeans like France, America, Belgium, to bring money to Mutai Kahiga so that we can be able to get this man to plant more trees. Secondly, Nyeri has already reached the 2% critical reduction level. It's only Kenya. In Kenya, I think it's Nyeri and Ethiopia that have done that. So we are saying that we have not polluted. Yeah. Somebody else has. And that person seems to be having a very spiritual angle. Because now, as you can see, there is an eminent hand weighing heavily upon us for a goat we did not kill. The killers of the goat are still enjoying their meat up to this day. Shame on them. Shame on these people. Let them bring the reparation and bring it now if they are not really spiritually evil. Yeah. Because spirit has two matters, okay, good and evil.
All right. So let me bring in Fred on this. So Fred, Kamuyu is handling it from the spiritual perspective. In fact, the elders are now going to pray. But you, I'm sure, are dealing with this scientifically. So what have you done as a county to ensure that the people of Nyeri's suffering is elevated, at least partially, even as we wait for the pledges at a global scale? What have you done locally here to ensure that, one, people understand that the climate change is here with us, and two, how are you elevating their suffering?
Thank you, Trevor. Going the spiritual way and turning it to scientific, what Elder Nyeri here is talking about is what we are currently calling the conservation agriculture, organic farming, and all the other connotations that we are giving it. Our people from time in generation knew that we have to conserve our environment for us to survive. And therefore, that's why you find that Nyeri, even with all what has happened along the way, we still are the best in conservation. How have we done that? It's actually adopting the scientific way of doing things. Governor has alluded to the various legal framework that we have set as a county, and even what our champions like Grace here have been doing. In this hall, we also have Madam Kanene, who is also another champion of this. So you can see that the young generation are also involved in matters of conservation. As a county, for the last 5 years, we have used part of our exchequer allocation, that's the equitable share, to an equivalent of close to 6 billion shillings to go to adaptation and matters of climate change mitigation. That's why you find that we are involved in water harvesting. We are involved in establishment of small dams and medium dams. We are involved in extension of water to areas that are dry. We have done like more than 50 boreholes within Kenny area, that is Kenny East and West, to try and bring water closer to the people and to help them particularly on food production. Working with the young people like Baraka, and I'm very happy to meet Baraka, we have been engaging the young people, the young generation at the school level. We have what we call the Nyeri School Greening Program, where we have worked with the young persons in those schools to establish tree nurseries to help us, accelerate production of seedlings that are issued to the community, so that we continue with increasing our forest cover. Why are we doing this? Because of what Elder Nyeri has talked about. Right now, we are faced with the vervet monkeys migrating from the forest, coming to the farms. Why are they doing that? Because we have overexploited the forests, and therefore they have no food in their habitat. So they are now moving to what we have established. And therefore we must rethink our afforestation and even the forest industry itself. And we have been in discussion with various stakeholders, including KFS and even Carefree, to try and establish fruit that are, amiable to the monkeys there in the forest, so that they go back to their habitat and they live us in peace. Climate change has has touched each and everyone, including the animals in the forest, the wildlife.
All right. And Governor, it's interesting that Waziri talks about the issue of funding for adaptation, but there's also the aspect of compensation. Kamuyu himself here said he lost his cows and only has 3 now. So what is the plan for people who've been adversely affected by climate change?
I think, first and foremost, who should compensate them? That's a question we should be asking. Mm-hmm. Is it government? Is it the people Kamuyu is talking about? Mm-hmm. I think what Waziri should also have told you is that we have just ended a program called the Kenya Climate Smart Agriculture, where we have introduced a new way of doing our agriculture that is climate smart. Within the communities, I think we were doing almost, is it 9 or 10 wards? The same now has been rolled over to all the 30 wards so that we can ensure. And what does that one involve? It involves the water pumps he's talking about, ensuring that we have the correct seed, which is adaptive to specific climate, so that you do not, for some time, we as a country have been doing things from central Nairobi, where we wake up one morning and decide that Nyeri needs DAP, fertilizer. You just bring it here, you don't know, so we have where you have to do soil testing, buy the correct fertilizer, and use it, within the whatever. We have also revived a number of dams. I am sure we remember Keria and others, where within a radius of about 5 kilometers, we've been able to reticulate water. And, so really, when we think about compensation, we must admit that like in the last, I think we are in January in a very odd month because we have never had rain. For the last, I think 8 or 10 years, we've never had rain in January. We have just come from a very devastating drought that really affected every part of Nyeri, even the traditional, where we always spoke about food from Madeira and from Mukroine, from Teto. This time it affected everybody. Now, if we were to talk about compensation, everybody required to be compensated, not only ourselves. But when he speaks, when Kamuyu speaks about monkeys, it's because of where he comes from. Where he comes from, the only things you find are monkeys. On this other end, it's elephants that come out of, because when climate, when drought and famine have hit, they hit the forests, the animals leave the forest, and what do we get? Elephants. Elephants are terrible because they will ensure they have messed the entire, vegetation. So we really have a challenge. When it comes to compensation, I think we as a country need to be compensated, first and foremost, for all the, if we could quantify all the losses we have undergone because of industrialization. Let me also mention this, Trevor. I had a very traumatic week. I remember when we had the UNGA, the United Nations. I went to New York. And the most devastating thing about New York is that I was living on I was in a hotel on the 36th Street. You needed to walk 20 streets to go to the Central Park to see a tree. Everywhere where we were living, there were the skyscrapers. Everywhere is cabro. It is tarmac. It is just the kind of place you even wonder, how do people survive there? And if that is how they are living then they want to try and bring that one here. It is sad. We need to be compensated. I agree with you.
All right. Let me open the floor now for conversations on solutions going forward. What do we do as a people to adapt to the changing climate? And there's a microphone here, and I'll come to you as well as a Go Green champion and hear what your views are. What do we do going forward as a country? And also, Professor, I'll come to you as learning institutions. What is your role when it comes to dealing with climate change? Yes, sir. Start with your name.
Thank you very much, Trevor. My name is Captain Job Karaithi. My line is climate change. And I am thankful to the governor because we are actually their consultants for climate change. And if I may talk about what was before and what is now, since December, the COP28, there is a change from the Kyoto Protocol to the Paris Agreement. The Paris Agreement now allows us to even calculate carbon on maize, beans, and coffee, and everything else, because every tree is photosynthesizing, so it is pulling in carbon dioxide. But there's a difference between carbon credits, the way we thought of them, and carbon credits now, where we talk about not just emissions, but reductions. You reduce carbon dioxide. What that really means is a tree is like an engine sucking carbon and it sucks and gets big. So it's just about the same as what you call direct air carbon, capture, where you suck with machines. But now you suck with nature-based solutions, the trees. Now, Your Excellency, the Governor, yes, that tree, we could be penalized for it, but now we will not be penalized for it. Now this is carbon capture because you do not burn it, so the carbon is still stored in there.
Yeah.
When you store carbon, you earn carbon credits. So Nyeri, for instance, can start enumerating or counting the amount of timber or wood that is harvested.
Yeah.
Because it's not for burning, it's for keeping, like now, for instance, an electric pole. You cut the tree, but you kept the pole still carrying the carbon. There is a lot of, that's a very big change of CDRs, carbon dioxide removals, which we will be doing in a place like Nyeri for us to be able to earn carbon credit.
All right, thank you so much. Professor, let me come to you, Professor Engineer Peter Nganga Mushiri is the Vice Chancellor for Leader Nyeri University of Technology. Thank you so much for hosting us here, sir. So question is, what is the role of institutions, learning institutions like here, to deal with the effects of climate change going forward?
Thank you, Trevor. And on behalf of the good Chancellor and Vice Chair and the University Council, I'm happy to welcome you to Leader Nyeri University of Technology. We are a university of technology because 92% of our programs are in technology, and we believe in using of technology in mitigation of climate change. In DCUT, we have several frontiers that we have employed to mitigate climate change, and one of them is looking at the area of energy conservation and the use of trees. One of the initiatives we have taken is the design and escalation of the production of more energy efficient cookstoves. And this is a project we have done in collaboration with GIZ, and it is something that has been escalated in every corner of this country. The second mitigation, we know this is a tea growing area, and tea is one of the most energy consuming processes. And we have a Center for Energy Studies that is mitigating the use of effective use of energy in that frontier. Another very interesting project we have undertaken in collaboration with KEFRI, Kenya Forest Research Institute, and Kenya Forest Services, KEFS, is design and fabrication of seed hurlers. We have seen the president give a challenge of getting 15 billion trees, and we need a lot of seed beds, and the seed hurlers, we realize, is a very important gap, and we have used them to accelerate the production of seeds, the acceleration of seed beds, and right now we have an order from KEFRI to design 10 seed hurlers. We have already supplied 3. There are already some in production in our workshops because we have a design and manufacturing unit, and we are providing technological solutions in mitigation of climate change. Thank you.
Great. I know the microphone is back there, but I'd like to hear your views on what do we do going forward? What do we do going forward? Because you're one of the people who are pushing this agenda. What do you recommend?
Thank you, Trevor. My name is Fidelis Kanene. I'm the founder Go Green Hub, which is a CBO and youth-led. I'm also the vice chair of the Environment Committee at the County Assembly of Nyeri. Thanks to my governor. And maybe what I can say is that tapping into carbon credits in Nyeri County might take a bit of some time, but as a county, we should think about polluter pay principle. Waziri, you might know what that is, whereby in Nyeri County, we have so many companies and industries where these people can start, what do I call it? They can start...
like reimagining the way they use energy, or just recycling?
They produce carbon.
Yeah.
These are pollutants.
Okay.
They produce carbon to the county and to the air. So they should start bearing the cost of managing this carbon and bring that money to the county, whereby the CBOs, the youths who have innovations will benefit. I think that's the biggest thing we can do as a county as at now, before we start tapping into the carbon credit.
So focus on industries. All right. I see the
Yes.
microphone is back there somewhere. If you have the microphone, raise your hand so that I see where you are. If you have a comment, just say it, then we'll give you a microphone back there. Yes. Start with you.
Good
Start with your
evening,
name, sir.
Trevor. My name is Hassan Yakub
Yeah.
from Nyeri Water and Sanitation Company. I want to take this opportunity to thank our very able governor for giving us the opportunity in the water utility to ensure that we take a chance and a role in the climate change mitigation. Like in our company, Nyeri Water and Sanitation Company, we have taken a lead in the tree planting in collaboration with the county government of Nyeri. Also, because we realized that Nyeri is a farming county, we had a challenge in the fertilizer in our farmers. So as a company, we have come up with organic fertilizer that we usually make from our waste in collaboration with the community and other members. We have also tapped on the energy industry. From the waste, from the sanitation waste that we get, we already started the process of making biogas, and where we are going to establish a refilling center for gas for our community and our county. And also we have taken the opportunity to work with the youth groups and the women groups in this county to ensure that we support our governor in the empowerment and ensuring that we provide alternative sources of energy by establishing of charcoal briquettes from the human waste that we usually treat.
Okay.
Thank you very much, our governor.
Let me bring in some of the students here because they're the ones dealing with technology, and I see there's a microphone back there. If you have the microphone back there, just, yes, pass the microphone back there as well so that we see what you have to say as young students. Yes, go ahead. Start with your name. Yes, madam, in red.
Yes, thank you, Trevor. My name is Beth Gishanga. I'm a telecommunication engineering student here at Dekut. And as youth or as students and also young people, one of the ways in which I as a student, I take part in climate change mitigation and climate action. Here in Dekut, we have a students branch, a student club called IEEE, Institute of Electrical and Electronics Engineering, where we have done several projects about clean and affordable energy and giving communities power, solar and wind power. We are investing in that to power a clinic somewhere and another dispensary in Nyandarua County. The clinic is in Mukurweni. And these are places where they don't have maybe supply of electricity, or the electricity supply is unreliable. And therefore we have used solar and also wind, which are reliable and also climate friendly and climate smart ways to power them. And also with the support of the school, because we have been able to even finance and get the projects going. The projects are ongoing. And it's just a call also to the school, and especially to our Vice Chancellor, Professor Mushiri, to also come in and support, because that will also help to mitigate the climate, some of the devastating disadvantages that we get from it.
Okay.
Thank you.
All right, great. Let's take a quick break on the Monday Report Town Hall session. When we come back, I'll still open the floor for questions and recommendations, and then I'll come to my panelists to hear about solutions going forward, and Baraka as well, and I'd like to hear what your thoughts are. Are you happy with the conversation we are having? Is there something you think we are missing? I'll come to you after this, because you're the future generation. Some of us are living on bonus time, but you're the future generation. So we'll come to that in just a bit, all right? Let's take that quick break here on the Monday Report. You're back in a short while.